Hi, this is Christine Beckwith coming to you from New York in the Mortgage News Network studio, and I'm super excited to bring you another episode of Power Women with Class, sponsored by Class Valuation. And today with me is Laura Brandao, president of AFR. Laura, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
We're so glad to have you here. She fought traffic.
I did.
We've been standing here talking, and we've established that we have high energy, the both of us. So this is going to be a high-powered episode of Power Women. So with that, let's get started.
Fantastic.
The audience wants to know when Laura began her journey in the mortgage industry. Go back to that initial year for us and tell us what that year looked like for you.
Sure. Well, the year was 1992.
Yay.
And I think just like everybody else that you ever asked that question to, I got into the mortgage business by accident.
Yep.
What was that accident? Well, I was a young mom at home, and I was home during the day, and I needed a part-time job. So I decided that in 1992, most of the part-time jobs was telemarketing.
Yeah.
And so I answered an ad for a telemarketing company. That particular telemarketing company had a campaign for Champion Mortgage.
Oh,
when your
yes.
bank says no, Champion says yes. And I was hired to actually get on the phone and refinance people that had mortgage rates of like 15% interest at that time.
Remember?
And long story short, I actually did so well at it, and one of the main reasons why I love speaking on the phone now is kind of going back to all that time ago. So long story short, about 5 years later, I actually had hundreds of telemarketers that I ran an entire telemarketing company and taught people how to actually get on the phone, speak to potential borrowers, and I can still remember to this day printing out on a dot matrix printer leads. We probably would generate anywhere from 200 to 300 leads an evening with people looking to refinance. So that's how I got into it.
And that is so funny. Like so many things as you were just speaking were like rattling off in my head. You're bringing me back to a day. Champion Mortgage, the slogan, the lead format, which, you know, is something I'm very familiar with. And obviously, I mean, that speaks volumes about your career and kind of how you launched forward and raised up because you honed a skill. And that is a skill, by the way.
It is.
The turnover rate in like telemarketing is very, very high. People don't get it. It's not an easy skill to become an expert at. So the fact that you mastered that to the point of being able to teach it to other people says a lot about your character and a lot about your expertise. So that's awesome. And you turn that into something wonderful and great. Now, looking back at that time, if with everything that's happened, all the time that you've now spent in the mortgage industry, if you had to give that same girl entering at that time in 1992 advice, what would you tell her?
I honestly really, you know, I'm a unique perspective because I wouldn't change anything. And that actually doesn't even just go with my professional career. It also goes for my personal life too.
That's nice.
Honestly, most of the things that I learned, I feel I had to learn them.
Yeah.
I can tell you that having the ability to teach people the proper way to communicate with a family on the phone and take the time to listen to their needs of what works best for their family and be able to understand, take the time and learn that, that's something that to this day in 2019 is valuable.
Yeah.
So I honestly wouldn't change anything because the way that I got to now president of AFR is those same empathy, listening, great communication. To this day, those skills are still extremely valuable.
Yeah, and they're life skills.
They are.
You know, those are the characteristics and makeup of the interaction of all conversation, communication, and people that don't do that well, by the way, really struggle both professionally and personally. So it's great that you've got that perspective. And I think it's, you know, it says a lot about your positive mindset because you're looking back at a time, and I'm sure you could find things that you wish that you changed, but you really have a great attitude about the fact that, look, I came up through this way, I honed a skill, I know it's valuable, I know it's contributing and making a difference. And so I love how you just answered that. That's awesome.
Because every lesson Everything you go through, whether it's positive or negative, is a learning experience that will take you to the next step.
And it's so, in your role, and this is what people don't realize till you get to a C-suite level, is that in a president's role, it's so important that you bear, and it can be a burden to some presidents, but you bear the weight of being the example of positivity for all the people to follow. So with all of that time amassed and now knowing what you have, when you look at all of it in its entirety, is there a moment that stands out that you're really, really proud of?
Well, that's an easy one. All right, I'm taking you back again.
Let's do it.
It's 2007, June.
Yep, I know.
We all know what was happening in our industry at that time. Of course, I was very scared of what was going to happen for the company I was working for at that time. So I decided to put some feelers out. And my IndyMac rep, again, we're going back to some old names. My IndyMac rep, I was good friends with her, and I said, okay, do you know anywhere that's safe? That's such a silly question when we all know what was happening in the industry at that time.
Relative, though.
So she's like, Laura, there's this company in Denville, New Jersey, and they want to start a wholesale division. And I said, I could do that. So that was how I came to AFR. I literally walked in the door, and our CEO, Rich, said, there's a desk. That's AFR Wholesale. Go to town.
Start. There you go. There's a good starting place.
That's it.
You said a few really important key things, though, because anyone listening to this in the mortgage industry, man, woman alike, in June of 2007 was sitting in a very uncomfortable seat at that time. It was the mortgage implosion, obviously, and so many of us were scrambling to find our next gig. The fact that you've been in one place since then, by the way, I don't know what the percentage is. I wouldn't even want to put a number on it, but I would say it's very few. I'll knock on wood and say, you know, I found a safe place as well. But it is hard. It's hard to find that place. But I think you have to be a trooper. You have to, you know, the willingness, again, the second point that really comes out in that statement of what you just answered is the willingness to start over. It takes a really strong individual to say, God, I amassed all of this to this point, and now I got to start here. And so, you know, I give it to all mortgage professionals in the industry because, you know, we're survivors. And we've had to recreate our brands. We've had to recreate companies. We've had to start over at other companies. And that's your story. And you've done it to incredible success, which is why you're one of the women that we picked for season 1. So great answers. Let's move on. I want to talk to you a little bit about your charity of choice. We all lend ourselves to those causes and many causes. What's your charity of choice?
About 5 years ago, I happened to be at work on a Sunday, and I look out my window in my office, and I notice that the Making Strides Breast Cancer Walk literally went past our building in Parsippany, New Jersey. So that day, I called up my assistant at that time and I said, how can we possibly have this organization be by our building and not be part of this? So about 5 years ago, we jumped into being a strong supporter of the organization, and we have so much fun with it. I mean, we have Jean Day on Wednesdays, and we have a big kickoff at the beginning of the season, and all of the employees come together to raise money, and then we walk together at that event that actually does go past our building. So we're a very strong supporter of Making Strides Breast Cancer.
I think that's really good, and it's a great cause. I mean, all of the guests on the episodes this season have had amazing, different causes, but amazing causes that they've thrown themselves into. That, you know, the Walk for Cancer is one that I've been involved with in my past and made even business relationships because there's so many businesses that are in there. So just an awesome cause. That's awesome. That leads me to my next final question for you. But it's a tough question, and it's a question about defining to everybody that's watching and tuning in today that what does Laura think success means?
Okay, so great question. Great question, love it. And when I think of the definition of success, I honestly think, number one, it's very personal.
Yes, it is.
Everyone's definition of success is unique and special to them.
That's right.
And I thought to myself, when I was in my 20s, running a telemarketing operation for Champion and all of that, my definition of success was rising through the ranks and growing and growing and growing. And it was also financial. I needed to get to X number financially. I felt that was success.
Yeah.
Then in my 30s, now I'm moving into AFR wholesale and I'm building an entire company. So my definition of success is now I've got my own thing and I'm going to grow this.
Yeah.
And now that we're into the 40s, now I'm actually looking at where's my legacy?
Yeah.
How am I leaving this industry behind me?
Yeah.
What about the people that are just starting out and coming into our industry? What will people say that I left behind as I move on past this years from now? So I think the definition of success changes as you go through different cycles, both professionally and personally.
You answered that. You gave me goosebumps because it really is on point to the fact that it evolves.
It evolves.
It evolves as human beings.
And it never ends.
It never ends.
It never ends.
But
You're
the
always...
legacy thing's huge because we've talked in so many episodes about not having great mentors growing through our careers and then finding those ones along the way that helped us. But seriously, getting to the point where you really want to leave your mark and you're doing that. I couldn't be happier to have you lend your voice today. We have a lot of people tuning in and they're looking for the answers, they're looking for the direction, and they're looking for the way. And what I think, to close out that we're bringing is you and the other women that have been on the show are bringing a sense of comfort to those that are coming up behind us. We're going to have you. We're going to share with you what works.
We're
going to show you the way. We're going to pass that baton. So thank you so much for being part of the show. You've been great. You answered those questions. Awesome. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Power Women with Class, sponsored by Class Valuation. This is Laura Brandao, president of AFR, and we thank you. This is Christine Beckwith reporting for Mortgage News Network.